The empress asked Ilhan to help her with slaughtering. He asked her how much he's getting if he helps her. She offered 40%, which he accepted enthusiastically. People were talking and admiring them. Everyone knew about the empress, but nobody knew who he was or what weapon he was using. He slaughtered another body, revealing purple stone he gave to the empress. Before he was able to leave, a military lieutenant told him that they had something to ask him, and he should cooperate, but was shocked by the empress's lightning. People were impressed by how protective she is, and some also wanted to get struck. Ilhan decided he should go before it gets even more chaotic. But Eartha told him he's got nothing to worry about because suddenly people don't see him anymore. They were confused about where he had gone. They thought that he must have run away faster than they could see, so he must be like Usain Bolt. He was sad that no one could see him anymore, even though it was what he wanted. Later in the day, Ilhan was in a park trying to make armor for himself with Eartha by his side. It would be tricky, but at least he should be able to make some wrist and knee guards from monster body parts he collected. Eartha told him that it would be very difficult and would be better if he finds a master and he makes it for him. He laughed, saying he's the truest master on Earth. So she remembers Lita saying he can't do anything and strangles her in her mind. As she was watching Ilhan looking at parts, she asked him if he knew anything about mana craft. He didn't know anything, but he was very interested and wanted to know more, and really wanted to learn it. She explained to him that mana craft utilizes mana crystals, which are similar to magic stones, to create artifacts that can grant special powers to things like armor and weapons. It's a concept that was developed from blacksmithing. He grabbed her, begging her to teach him. She gets angry and demands for him to let her go since she already said she'll teach him. At that moment, she was even more angry at Lita because she had to deal with Ilhan. Eartha continued explaining that in order to start mana craft, you first need to prepare materials and magic stones to create an armor or mana crystals with similar properties to the stones. For example, something like a dragon heart. You place the magic stone next to you and synchronize as you create gear. After finishing the product, grind the magic stone finely and rub it over the surface of the gear. That is the basic form or close that will simply elevate the gear's performance. But above that, there is mana crafting that can grant additional special abilities as well, or the applied form. But that form is a bit more difficult, and he wouldn't be able to do it with his current mana level. Ilhan wanted to know how to do that anyway, so she continued to explain. In order to grant your gear special abilities, a master must handle mana. It wouldn't be impossible to do it if you were to consume magic stones quickly. If you consume mana or magic stones like that, you may create gear of your dreams. It could spout fire or ice, or have the effect of recovering stamina. The will of the master is important when it comes to determining what ability will be granted, since the quality of the magic stones and the master's mana will be very helpful. Ilhan started to work on his armor parts, and after a while he successfully made them, even without skills. He learned mana craft. Eartha was impressed by his skills and how quickly he understood the concept. He had a magic stone left and decided to use it straight away. Eartha couldn't believe that he was going to attempt a granting immediately, and thought it was reckless. He was struggling, so Eartha decided to give him a bit of her mana, since it would be a waste if he gives up now. He looked amusingly at the crystals in his hand. Eartha was looking at Ilhan, wondering if he was successful at granting. Did they fail? Ilhan smiled and told her no, they hadn't failed. It went just as he planned. He leveled up in mana craft. Eartha was surprised looking at his new creation. He applied the mantis's knife ability to his wrist protector. He smiled, saying that things will be busy now. She replied affirmatively, and that it's impressive what he's accomplished. He'll be busy crafting. He replied it's not that he'll be busy with that, but he'll be busy running away since he broke the swing. The next day, on the news, were reports that the government is searching for 2 masked people who defeated the monsters. Ilhan was on the way to school, but his mother asked him to just stay at home because she was worried. The news continued talking that the government has called people with extraordinary abilities overpowered ability users, and that their mana-using abilities are high. Eartha noticed the mother's status window. She had a mother's skill, which is the ability to keep an eye on her children around the house and worry about them. So naturally, she was worried about her son going outside where the monsters are. He responded by saying if he sees a monster, he'll just run away. The news continues, saying that the government plans to create a unit of advanced mana users with overpowered at the head of it. With a little more convincing, Ilhan's mother finally lets him leave for school. On the way, Ilhan and Eartha were talking about his mother's skill and if it's even useful. Eartha told him it's a good survival skill. For example, penguins live in a big group and a mother can hear her child's cry and rush to protect him. They changed the subject to the government plan on creating a unit. He said he's not interested in working with the government and that family comes first. Also, it's more comfortable to move around when you're less tied down. But he does wish to meet Empress again. Eartha asked him if he's into her. He responded that he hasn't thought about that stuff in a while. So she started to mock him for being sterile. He got so angry that he screamed out loud that he isn't sterile, but luckily nobody noticed because of his skill. That didn't help with his mood, but he said he might figure out what is the reason for his skill. Eartha, intrigued, takes the bait. Lita is the reason. Eartha was unimpressed, mocking him that he spent 1,000 years with an angel beauty, and now normal women just don't do it for him anymore. He tells her to knock it off, changing the topic to the Empress. The ability of hers to use mana was intriguing. He can't use mana even if his level goes up, but her powers are incredible. But Eartha reminded him that what he accomplished without mana is more incredible. She suddenly stopped and said she felt the presence of a pack of monsters nearby, a pack of 70 or so wolves, and wild dogs being led by a level 35 diamond wolf. He freaked out when he thought she said that from the beginning there won't be any high-level monsters. But she did, though it was strange that yesterday level 10 monsters appeared already. He asked her why she was calm yesterday. She looked at him and said because she didn't want to reveal her worries to a lower being. He remembers Lita and how different she was to Eartha. Eartha is more like a stuck-up rich girl, and Lita was more like an older sister. Eartha coughed to get his attention back and told him that Earth is not normal at the moment and she'll need his help. Eartha just told Ilhan that Earth is not quite normal at the moment. He's confused. She went on his head and said she'll explain on the way since they are in a rush and she'll lead them to the monsters. God teleported all the humans to learn mana but left all the animals on Earth thinking they'll be fine for 10 years, but because of unknown errors, the flow on Earth was greatly destroyed. In other words, 10 years turned into 1,000 years on Earth. Ilhan remembered how he spent them with Lita, and he didn't even realize it was 1,000 years. Even though time was reset, the animals who were supposed to only live for 10 years survived for 1,000 years and went under drastic change. So to sum it up, the monsters on Earth are stronger than the ones in other worlds. And that's why Heaven needs Ilhan's help. They want him to be the main exterminator of the monsters while they work on restoring the balance. Of course, they will reward him accordingly. They arrived at the wolves, and Ilhan put on his mask and took his spear out. While he attacked the monsters, he said that the task is very tough and troublesome to take up, but that's why he likes it. For every monster he killed, he gained more experience and skills. People around were in panic as more monsters appeared. One wolf was just about to attack a man, but Ilhan saved him just in time. People noticed him and praised him and called him Sun Gain Bolt. He was not really impressed with the nickname he got, but he kept on fighting and noticed he wasn't leveling up. A message that if he doesn't choose a class, he can't become level 10 appeared in front of him. One of the wolves howled in the sky and more wolves appeared. It looked like the howling gave them some kind of command. Ilhan was surrounded by them. If he took a step back, he would lose his balance, and if he went forward, they would bite him, so he attacked, since that was his only option at that moment. People were impressed how he took down 5 wolves in an instant. Suddenly, one of the wolves puts his paw over a man, pushing him on the ground, face down. It was holding him hostage. Eartha observed that it seems like a wolf has done it before already. But Ilhan smiled and said that won't change anything. People were watching the scene in front of them, wondering what would happen. Will he save the man? The wolf was still keeping that man as a hostage, and Ilhan was in defense pose in front of him. Eartha said that his next decisions will either make him a hero or a villain. He said he doesn't give a stinky poo about that stuff. and attacked the wolf, cutting its head off by throwing his weapon. He said if there's a person he can save, he'll do it. But he'll only do as much as he can. He's no hero, he's just a person. Other wolves gathered around him. Eartha said it looked like they'll all attack Ilhan at once, thinking he lost because now he's got no weapon. Ilhan called them arrogant little dogs and stretched his hands. As wolves attacked, he fought back with just his fists. That's the result of thousands of years of training under the Queen of Combat, Lita. Eartha thought to herself that he won't do something as rash as sacrificing his life to save others, but makes judgments faster and calmer than others to take the most efficient action possible in the moment. Lita really did raise an amazing monster, but this isn't something Lita thought of him. He trained himself towards that. People around watching the fight were impressed by how strong he was. After a while, he finally defeated all the monsters and he thought it was over, but someone put a gun to his head. It was a military man telling him to stay still. People were furious as to why they were aiming at him. He's a hero. Blonde woman lieutenant was shocked that he defeated them all. When? Later, when all the panic settled, she apologized to him. They read the situation wrong because they thought there were still monsters left. But they were actually looking for him. The army wanted to ask for his cooperation, but before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by another military man pointing out that he had disappeared. They saw him again at the corpses he had decided to butcher. The blonde lieutenant walked up to him again and asked him to consider joining them. He said no. She didn't stop convincing and asking him why not. He thought to himself, no, because he feels like things will get too annoying if he does join them. Eartha agreed as she read his mind. But then he told the lieutenant that it's better to not be affiliated with the military, and he's much better and more efficient on his own anyway. Ilhan went back to butchering, but after a few minutes he looked around and realized there was too much stuff there to take back all alone, so he went to the lieutenant that was really down because of his rejection. She got excited thinking he changed his mind, but he asked her if they wanted to buy the wild dog carcasses from him. He will butcher them and sell them, thinking that's better than taking all of that home. She agreed, offering him mana stones, but he wanted money. She was impressed by his skills, separating all the useful parts and how little damage they had. She took a video of Ilhan working and sent it to someone. That person called her and ordered her to bring him no matter what, even if she had to seduce him. After he was done, he went back to the lieutenant and let her know he'll take the cash. She agreed and told him she'll inform the higher-ups. Ilhan turns and is happy with his loot and that it's finally over. He looked at brown, little mana stones in his hand, thinking to eat them. Eartha stopped him, telling him it'll cause rage. "Do you really want to be dominated by monsters, Mana?" she asked him. That just made him feel like someone will definitely do that and cause chaos. He was checking the $37 million that the military paid him. The lieutenant definitely tried to seduce him as she was giving him the suitcase, but he turned and disappeared using his stealth skill after he lost their attention for a second. Lieutenant was bumped. She lost him and her looks didn't work. But Ilhan's long day has just begun. Eartha and Ilhan were behind a building. He was about to choose his first class, but there were too many, so he asked Eartha what she would recommend. She looks at the status window and recommends him a lancer, since he can use a spear or a grappler since his skills are mostly for close combat and with a spear. Ilhan remembers that those are things Lita recommended to him when they were training, and that the reason why he is so good is because he was fighting with her. An opportunity to learn from an angel is rare. Eartha said there's no need to think so much about his class. When he levels up, he will obtain second and third subclasses. He never heard any of that, because nothing he read on the internet mentions them. Eartha, annoyed, told him that the internet is a waste of his time. He got the feeling that she had a previously bad experience with the internet, and she pleaded the fifth. Ilhan decided to choose a lancer because the destruction power depends on the weapon, and a better weapon has better effects than if he would choose to be a grappler. Also, he'll be able to create a much better spear after he finds more materials. Bertha was impressed that he figured that out by himself. Suddenly, a new choice appeared on his status window, a choice to be a blurred lancer. Bertha was surprised that he got a modification this soon at his first class choice. That's a unique job just for one person. With all his past experiences and records he obtained, put together to create a new class just for him and him only. Bertha enthusiastically insisted, if not ordered, he needs to choose it no matter what. It has higher requirements for leveling up, but it's still worth it. All of his new skills showed on his status window, and one of them was that he cannot manage mana and could not learn active skills. He understood the name, and he thought he was choosing Blood Lancer since blurred and blood are spelled the same with the Korean alphabet. Now he understood the chosen blurred lancer, that means unable to see or be seen clearly, or hazy. He was definitely not happy about that, but he was swept off his feet with blue light and his body gained more muscles. Bertha explained that his body has straightened because he earned his first class and there's no way back. New status window with basic skills popped up. Bertha asked him if he had any active skills. He didn't. She said most first classes don't, so it's okay, and that she thinks he won't earn mana even when he gets second class. Ilhan freaked out, since being without any mana is pretty dangerous. Bertha confirmed, but that applies for a normal person, so he doesn't have to worry. If he doesn't earn an active skill with first or second job change, the records will pile up, and he'll be very strong at his third job change. Bertha thought to herself that Ilhan is indeed a lower being worth watching over, and smiled, then told him to go on and pulled his hair. He was not happy about her pulling his hair. She also told him she hid his case of money with magic so no one would take it. Time to start looking for monsters as the proxy. They started to look for monsters in their area. Bertha told him that the quest from heaven is that he has to have more work done than other proxies, and as a result, his rewards will be bigger. He liked that and will try his best. He looked at his phone where he got information on where monsters appear. There was a sighting of a big bear monster. He joked that today's meal is a bear bladder, taking his spear out. If he had poison resistance, Bertha sneaked in a sly comment. As Ilhan stood there, he had to be careful to not get hit by falling stones, a consequence of the government's attack. In the distance, there were military men shooting with guns, but it did nothing to the bear. They were so confused on what to do. The bear got bored and walked the other way. Ilhan put on his mask, but was still standing on the same spot, saying he was timing it, but now he'll attack. Stealth really did come in handy this time, because the bear could only sense him when he made contact. As the big bear is considered a Class 2 monster, one strike wasn't enough, so Ilhan turned to the military and told them to run if they wanted to live, but they could stay if they wanted. The bear made a swing with his claw near the people and they started to run away in panic. Ilhan attacked it again, and in pain, the bear lost him, so his stealth skill activated again. Because of his class, his next attack should kick an extra punch. He remembered something Lita told him when they were training. She told him to focus all his weight on a single point. And as he attacked her in a flashback, she knocked him out cold. But when he came to his senses, she told him, for the first time, he did come close to her, because he managed to cut her hair. She was proud of him. For the first time, he did succeed a little in a fight with an angel. So he decided to use the same attack with the bear. He focused and put all his weight on one point at the bear's head and stabbed him with a spear. He successfully deleted him and gained a lot of experience and some new skills. It's scavenging time. Ilhan noticed that the bear got smaller, but that was because the bear had a gigantify skill, and the skill undid itself after it died. As he was focusing on the bear corpse, a black car rushed up and the doors opened quickly, people saying they arrived and where's the monster.